Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know who I am, I'll get this out of the way quick. My name is Shook. I make videos for NBA, make videos for NFL. These videos they get posted on this subreddit. You can find my posts with my username Shook. I make updates with all the news that comes out through the day. You can ask me questions about the slate. You can ask me pivots. I'll respond to you and stuff like that. So, link to that would be down below. And then if you ever need to get a hold of me privately, you can get a hold of me on Twitter right here. Here are my handles. And yeah, let's get into the slate. Before we do that, we'll go over my lineup from Thursday night football, and then if you are interested in joining my Discord, I'll have a link to that down below, where I have player pools for cash tournaments. I give you court plays, private videos. I'm in Discord 24/7 answering questions. So yeah, I'll have a link to that down below. So it was a good day for me. Once again, I show you guys my lineups every single night so you can gauge how I'm doing, if I'm winning a play or not. Cash games, cashed once again. So I was debating two lineups. It was this lineup which I felt was a little bit suboptimal for cash, but it did end up working out. When Jalen Hurts, JJ, Kirk Cousins, Jake Elliott, DeAndre Swift, Rashad Penny. The core that I had for cash games was Jalen Hurts, um, DeAndre Swift, and Kirk Cousins. They all absolutely smashed. And then the other lineup that I was considering was fading Justin Jefferson and playing Devontae Smith over him with, I believe it was Dallas Goedert over Jake Elliott. That lineup did well in cash too. Or no, I mean it was Dallas Goedert over Rashad Penny. So it would have been J.J. Penny versus um, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. I think that lineup outscored this lineup by like 2 points or whatever. But great day overall. Once again, my GPP core was Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, and Rashad Penny. Unfortunately, Rashad Penny didn't get the amount of work that I was expecting him to get. I missed cash by like a point, but as you guys know, I'm mostly a cash game grinder, so it was a profitable day for me. All right, so we'll go over my favorite stacks. I'll go over the best plays in my opinion, and then maybe go over some plays that I didn't mention throughout the stacks, throughout my favorite plays. So we'll go over some stacks that I like first, and I mean I think we have to start with probably the most popular stack of the week, and that's going to be Josh Allen stacks. I mean he looks phenomenal. Super high total here. Let me see if I can bring up the totals. Vegas. Um, yeah, 49.5 total here for this game. He's just a unicorn, man. He's going to throw the ball a ton. Now, rushing attempts aren't as good or as good as I expect as they will be from last year, but he still does have some rushing floor. Like, if we're expecting 6 to 8 attempts per game, that's still pretty good. Um, really good spot. This game should shoot out. He's probably going to be the most popular quarterback on the slate. He's obviously a great cash game option. I think he looks phenomenal. Now, since this game is going to be really, really popular, one way you could leverage the field is go to a guy like James Cook and hope he gets like one touchdown through the air or like, 2 touchdowns on the ground. That's one way you could leverage the field. Obviously it's going to fail more often than not. Obviously, we have way better running back plays for cheaper. You have guys like Rachaad White, you have guys like Dylan, you have guys like Joshua Kelly, etc. So it's tough, but that's one way you could leverage the field. And then obviously, if I'm playing Josh Allen, I'm obviously pairing him with Stephon Diggs, and it's not even close. And then another guy that I'm really high on is Dalton Kincaid. If you go to my Twitter, I posted this. He played 79% of the snaps. He pass blocked on 0% of those. He was in on 71% of those passing plays. Obviously, we know Allen's going to throw the ball a ton. So if you're in a Josh Allen type offense and Allen's going to be throwing the ball a ton and you're out there for basically all of these snaps and you're not blocking on most of them, you're going to be a pretty good play. I think the kid's talented as well, so I'm pretty high on Dalton Kincaid this week. I think a lot of people are going to go to Musgrave. I think Kincaid's a phenomenal tournament pivot at a similar price tag, so I'm going to include a Kincaid, and then I'm obviously going to include Gabe Davis. I'm not going to go to Hardy. He didn't play much. He got kind of lucky getting 4 targets on that showdown slate. But this will be the general stack that I would do with Josh Allen. And my favorite pairing, just to save salary, is definitely going to be Allen, Diggs, Kincaid. And then you have some more popular plays in this game that you can bring it back with. Clearly, the best, probably one of the best wide receiver plays on the slate is going to be Davante Adams. He's matchup proof. Last week was definitely a tough matchup for him, so he gets a much easier matchup this week. Still not like a good matchup. Still kind of tough, but definitely not what it was last week. So I think Davante Adams is the clear bring back for me. And then we have Myers out, so that's going to open up even more value. I think Hunter Renfrow is going to have a bigger role this week, so he's another guy you could bring it back with. But clearly for me, it's going to cost a lot of money. It's going to be Davante Adams. So it's probably my favorite stack of the week. It's going to be very popular. I think another stack that I like quite a bit, we're just going to go, I guess, like left to right, is going to be Joe Burrow stacks. I expect this stack to be kind of popular as well, with Jamar Chase probably getting a ton of ownership. But Joe Burrow, listen, he's not going to score 3 fantasy points again. He's just not. So I like him a ton as a bounce back candidate this week. Might be a little bit lower than he should be. Another thing you can do, since I assume this stack will get ownership, is leverage the field once again with Joe Mixon, but I'm not too high on Joe Mixon this week. He's just fine for me. He's just there. And then Jamar Chase, phenomenal play. Going to be a good cash game options as well. And then T. Higgins, absolutely love for tournaments with this stack. Had 8 targets, 0 receptions. That game was just awful for the Bengals. I think a lot of people are going to kind of be out on Higgins this week. I think it's a great bounce back spot. So I'm really high on Higgins for tournaments. This would be the primary. And then you have another cheap tight end that I think is solid in Irv Smith. So another stack that I like, probably going to go over like 4 stacks, 4 of my favorite stacks. And then my clear favorite bring back is going to be Zay Flowers. He was a core piece for me last week. Kid's phenomenally talented. Had 10 targets. Now we can't expect that again. Also have to keep an eye on the Mark Andrews news. That could impact things. But I still think Zay Flowers is a bit too cheap at 5K. So like Zay, or he's about where he should be. But he's my clear favorite bring back. Next game, right to the right of it, is going to be Jared Goff doubles. I don't even mind Geno doubles either. I really don't. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, another pretty popular play. I think you have Josh Reynolds. That's going to be a value who I prefer over Marvin Jones Jr. So my preferred double is going to be something like this. Laporta, the rookie, basically played the entire game, if I recall correctly. Another cheap option you can get off Musgrave Chalk in tournaments that I think is good. These are going to be the pass catchers that I'm personally going to be pairing Goff with. I think my favorite is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown and Josh Reynolds. Now, David Montgomery is also going to be a pretty popular play. I think we'll see. Ownership might kind of change in a different direction with the opening of. I think White's going to be more popular. We have Dylan now with Aaron Jones out. We have, who am I forgetting? Joshua Kelly now opening up. We'll see. But Dave Montgomery, I think, is another solid running back play. And if the ownership is going to drop because the injuries to the other running backs makes him even more interesting. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs is obviously a much better running back, but he's just not getting the snaps. I believe only played like 30% of the snaps last week. So just got to go with the guy that's going to get more of the snaps. So Montgomery, I think, is solid. And then, the guys that we went over, my favorite guys are going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, and Laporta. My favorite bring back is probably going to be DK Metcalf. If you want to go with JSN for salary relief, I think that's fine. But clearly for me, it's going to be JSN. Or you can go Ken Walker. They actually threw him the ball last week. I don't know if that's going to continue. But if they do start throwing in the ball, that definitely obviously helps him out a ton. I don't mind Ken Walker. I'm just not in love with it. Next stack. Another popular stack is going to be Trevor Lawrence. doubles. I expect Calvin Ridley to be extremely popular, but it's hard to get away from. Had 11 targets, most of those being in the first half after they finally decided to stop him. One of the highest totals on the slate. It might be the highest total on the slate at 50. Yeah. This game has shootout potential all over it. He's going to eat volume. Now, my only issue here is there's a lot of good players on this team, and they're all going to get volume. So, up to you on what you want to think with Calvin Ridley and if he's going to be over-owned or not. But obviously, if I'm playing Trevor Lawrence, I'm obviously going to be playing Calvin Ridley. There's just no getting around that. And I think point per dollar, my second favorite play on this team is going to be Zay Jones. He was out there in 2 wide receiver sets over Christian Kirk. If you want to go with Kirk, super low owned, I think that's fine. But for me right now, it's going to be Zay Jones. My favorite pairing, this 2 pairing. Evan Ingram's fine as well. I wish he was cheaper. But this is going to be my favorite pairing. And then we have to talk about Travis Etienne. They actually threw him the ball. Actually threw Travis Etienne the ball. Now, if they're going to start throwing Etienne the ball, he's probably going to break fantasy at some point. So, I haven't looked at ownership yet, but if he's going to be low owned, I definitely have interest. Because if they do start throwing him the ball, he will do absolutely probably break fantasy. So, you had Bigsby Vulture a touchdown, I believe. Yeah, unfortunate there. Excuse me, guys, because I had a lot of Jacksonville exposure last week. But that's clearly my favorite double for Trevor Lawrence. My favorite bring back, I mean, dear God, obviously it's going to be Kelsey if he plays. And then kind of, just kind of flip a coin. I really don't know. Looking at the Kansas City snap counts for last game, it was really just gross. Rice barely played, which is kind of what we expected. Watson didn't play much. MVS is probably your safest option if you want to use him. Richie James didn't play much. It was mainly, just MVS and then everyone mixing in. Kadarius Toney is going to be the highest usage player, but he's not going to play a ton of snaps, right? So, up to you what you want to do on there. I think MVS for me is probably the safest option of the group. And then if Travis Kelce's out, if Travis Kelce plays, we're obviously bringing it back with Travis Kelce, right? So I have no interest in the running backs. No interest. And same thing goes for Mahomes. I guess my favorite double is probably going to be like that. And then if Kelsey's out, probably like something like that. But yeah. Any other stacks that I did like? I think that's really it. I think those are my favorite stacks on the week. I guess I am definitely interested in Brock Purdy stacks just because Deebo Samuel, in my opinion, is probably one of the best point per dollar wide receiver plays in the slate. I'm super high on Deebo. It's a much better spot for him and his skill set this week. That's why you saw Brandon Ayuk nuke last week. It was a much better spot for Ayuk. So I do have interest in Brock Purdy doubles. I don't know if I'd include CMC in that group. I guess you can. Doesn't hurt if you do, but I'm fine with either. If you want to leave him in or leave him out, I think that's okay. But I think that's just what I'd do in Purdy doubles. And then we're going to go over the best plays, in my opinion, in a minute. And then clear bring back for me is Puka Nacua. Excuse me, guys. He's playing kind of that Cooper Kupp role right now. So he's point per dollar, one of the best wide receiver plays on the slate, in my opinion. But Van Jefferson's an interesting pivot. Tutu Atwell's an interesting pivot. So, but Puka, raw points, going to be the best play on the Rams. All right, now that we got my favorite stacks out of the way and who I'm pairing those stacks with and who I'm bringing it back with, I guess we'll go over, in my opinion, the best plays to kind of like cash game stuff. For me, the best cash game quarterback is going to be Josh Allen. I think you can consider Anthony Richardson once again, kind of like last week. You could consider Richardson over like Jalen Hurts. I went with Jalen Hurts, but Richardson obviously did better. But for me, it's just Josh Allen, and you can consider Anthony Richardson. At running back, I think CMC is very good for cash games. Just high volume role right now. Always has been 22 attempts, 5 targets, just phenomenal running back usage. Might come down a little, but still, he's probably going to get that ideal role. He's too cheap. He looks great on a point per dollar value basis. Little disappointing. It's kind of what we expected though with beyond Robinson's usage. I don't know why I'm saying that. He's not cash game viable at all, but I was just very frustrated, even though it's what we projected. Tony Pollard, I think, is good for cash games as well. Phenomenal. Um, Phenomenal running back. We know his skill set. We know the usage he is going to get. So I think he's in play for cash. Going down further, it's kind of going to be like either you spend up for CMC or you spend down at running back this week. Not considering any of these guys. And then we got to talk about the Aaron Jones stuff. So with him being missing practice on Friday, it's going to open up AJ Dillon, who I think would be a great cash game play. Going down further, David Montgomery I think is good. Going down further, Rashad White I think is good. Going to be popular. Going down further, Joshua Kelly with I think Eckler is doubtful right now. Where's the Chargers? Yeah. Doubtful. That opens up Joshua Kelly. He looked phenomenal. I don't know if you guys watched that Chargers game, but he looked great. Just way, way too cheap if Eckler's out. He looks great. Where was I? Going down further, I don't think I get to anyone else, to be honest. Zach Moss, I guess you can consider. But yeah, let me go back to the mid-range. I probably skipped over some guys. It's more of you're either paying up for CMC or you're spending down, but I'm sure there's some viable guys in this like 7K range besides Tony Pollard. I mean, I guess you could consider Joe Mixon, but I don't love it. James Conner, I think, is solid at 6'2". And then we got to like Dylan and stuff, so. Diggs, Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, kind of like last week. We had like Tyreek, Chase, Jefferson, kind of the same thing this week. Pick your poison here. I think they're all great. Devontae Adams, point per dollar, I think looks phenomenal for cash games. Calvin Ridley, I think looks good for cash games. Keenan Allen in play for cash games. Probably my least favorite of that group. Pittman's fine. I don't love it. Deebo Samuel, I think looks great at 5'6". Zay Flowers firmly in play. Nico Collins firmly in play. We'll talk about the Houston wide receiver situation in a second. Zay Jones I think is in play. Tutu in play. We'll monitor the injury with Nakua in a minute. Did I pass Nakua? Yeah, Puka Nakua probably cash game lock as of right now in that Cooper Kupp role. Can't expect 15 targets again, but he's going to be peppered. Then we mentioned Nico, Zay Jones, Tutu Atwell. I think you can consider really all these guys. We have plenty of guys in this like 5K range at running back, at wide receiver. Is there anyone down here? What's Renfro? I don't know if I consider Renfro, but viable if you really need it. Jaden Reed at 3-4. Viable if you need the salary. So there's a lot of guys that I'm mentioning in this value range that are definitely viable, and a lot of guys up here that are viable. For tight end, it's two guys I'm considering. Kelsey if he plays, and then where is he? Musgrave at 3-2. Those are really the only two guys I'm considering at tight end. But we'll go over some tournament pivots in a second. So that's kind of my cash player pool. I guess you can consider like Chig or Conquo, Kincaid in consideration. But for me personally, I'm probably just going to play Musgrave in cash. What else? I think that's really it. All right, let's go over some tournament stuff that I like. So I do like, where is Derrick Henry, an absolute boatload against this Chargers defense. I don't think he's going to get any ownership at all. Another play that I'm really high on for tournaments. Kind of went over the best plays. I'm just going to be high on those guys. Travis Etienne. And then I kind of want to just play the best plays, personally for me. If you're playing large field stuff, like I really like Derrick Henry for large field. James Cook is interesting. Ken Walker, fine. Going to be interesting to see the ownership. Like if David Montgomery loses ownership with the opening of like Joshua Kelly and Dylan, I'll definitely like him for tournaments more. But if he's going to be higher owned, then I think he's might be a little bit over owned for tournaments. We'll see. If it was anyone, if he was playing anyone but San Francisco, I would like Kyron Williams, but I just hate the spot there. Zach Moss, solid tournament play for me, viable for cash as well, but more so for tournaments for me. And then a wide receiver, it's kind of just like whoever fits with your stacks. And then tight end, I do like some pivots quite a bit. So Musgrave going to be really popular. Some pivots we talked about: Chig, Kincaid, Irvin, or where is Irv Smith. I thought I mentioned someone else. The Houston situation, so Dalton Schultz, he played an absolute ton of snaps. I think is interesting with the injuries to Noah Brown, so that opens up Nico Collins. Like I said, solid pump play, Dalton Schultz. So there's a lot of stuff you can do on the slate with some pivots. But I think that's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. Tried to go over stacks I wanted, pretty much all my favorite plays, the best plays on the slate. It's pretty straightforward this week. And it's going to be straightforward until DraftKings fixes the pricings with injuries. So, yeah, I hope this helped you guys out, and I will talk to y'all later.